as it helps us. Let me tell you something that might sting a little, Lee. There's nothing more dangerous than a woman in love who forgets her worth. We've all seen her, the woman who gives everything. Her time, her energy, her softness, her body, her mind, all before a man has even earned the right to touch her soul. So today, I want to talk about 7 things a woman should never do for a man. Because love shouldn't cost you your dignity. There is a fine line between giving support and losing yourself in the process. Sometimes a woman falls so deeply into a relationship that she forgets she was whole before it began. She starts compromising in small ways, letting go of what makes her feel alive just to keep someone else happy. Her mornings become his schedule. Her thoughts revolve around his needs, and somewhere in that silent shift, she disappears a little. It doesn't happen all at once. It's gradual, often unnoticed at first. She cancels plans, puts aside passions, begins speaking less of what lights her up. And with every unnoticed sacrifice, she moves further from her center. There's a certain kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from working hard, but from always giving and never receiving. When a woman starts reshaping her world around someone else's needs without being asked, hoping to earn love by being everything, she enters a dangerous territory. She becomes a version of herself that is easier to be around, more accommodating, less demanding. But love that asks you to shrink isn't love that sustains. And the moment you feel like you have to earn a permanent place in someone's life through self-erasure, something within you begins to rebel quietly. That rebellion often shows up as restlessness, sadness, or deep inner confusion. A relationship is supposed to be a partnership, not a performance. When a woman believes she has to constantly prove her worth by giving more, fixing more, doing more, she burns out emotionally. Her needs go unmet, not because they're unworthy, but because they've become invisible. Even to herself, she waits for him to notice her silence, her fading spark, the way she's dimmed her light. But often, he's ground used to this new version of her, unaware of the depth she's hidden away. And she, hoping he'll one day ask her to come back to herself, continues to pour from a well that's run dry. Some women were taught that love means sacrifice, but that teaching was never meant to be taken to the extreme. Yes, love involves effort, compassion, compromise, but not the loss of self, not the quiet acceptance of being sidelined in your own story. There's nothing noble in giving so much that you forget your own dreams. A woman who silences her truth to keep peace is not creating harmony. She's building a quiet resentment that will one day erupt. The weight of unsaid things grows heavier over time. What starts as devotion slowly transforms into an internal battle she cannot explain. Sometimes she doesn't even realize how far she's gone until she looks in the mirror and barely recognizes herself. The spark in her eyes dulled. The laughter that once came easily now feels forced. Her life becomes a shadow of what it once was, lived in the echo of someone else's world. And all the while, she tells herself it's just a phase, that things will get better, that this is what love looks like. But deep down, she knows. She feels the distance growing, not just between them, but between who she was and who she's become. It's not always visible, but it's always felt. The most difficult truth to accept is that being everything to someone else can leave you with nothing for yourself. The woman who bends over backwards to keep things together may one day find she has nothing left to hold on to. Because the people we bend for rarely notice the shape we take. They only see that we're there. Always available, always understanding, always adjusting, until we're not. Until one day she stops reaching out, stops explaining, stops trying. And in that silence, He realizes what he had, but by then, she may already be on the path back to herself. When you forget your own rhythm to match someone else's tempo, the song of your soul becomes faint. You start living a version of life that fits their comfort, but not your truth. And the longer you remain in that place, the harder it becomes to hear your own voice. A woman must never forget that her identity is not tied to her ability to fix or fulfill someone else. She was not put here to complete another person, but to stand whole beside them. If the relationship demands that she become less than what she is, then it is not built on mutual growth. To reclaim that power doesn't always mean leaving. Sometimes it means remembering the things that made her feel alive before she placed someone else at the center of her world. Reconnecting with her own desires, her own joy, her own pace. It's not about pushing someone away, but about pulling herself back into the light she forgot she carried. The journey back to self isn't always easy. It requires honesty, patience, and a willingness to stop hiding. But once she finds that place within again, she begins to glow from something deeper than approval. And in that glow, she is finally home, as it helps us. There's something you need to hear before the next time you open your legs, hoping he'll open his heart. Because somewhere along the way, someone convinced you that the quickest way to keep a man was to make him addicted to your body. So you let his hands wander even when his words don't. You let him inside your skin when he's never tried to enter your soul. You offer moans, softness, curves, scent, all while wondering if he even remembers the sound of your voice, as it helps us. And this is where the silence grows loud, because giving him all of you doesn't guarantee he'll want to keep any part of you. You gave him access. But did he ever truly see you? You pretend not to notice the pattern. He shows up late, says the right things, touches the right places, and leaves you emptier than you were before. And yet you crave the rush, not the man, the moment. The helps us, the attention, the illusion. Because somewhere deep inside, you think maybe if he tastes your devotion, he'll finally hunger for your heart. But let me tell you something. If you have to undress to earn affection, you're not being loved. You're being used. And it's not your fault. You were taught that intimacy is a transaction. That pleasure is power. That seduction will save you. But you're not meant to be a shortcut to anyone's comfort zone. He doesn't call back the next day. Or if he does, the tone is colder, distant. You feel it in the way he avoids depth, as if your passion was a performance and the curtains already closed. As it helps us, you like replaying every sigh, every kiss, wondering what more you could have done, when the truth is you did too much. You touched him before he ever touched your heart. You offered your skin before he proved he was worthy of your mind. You let him experience your body's warmth without asking if he could handle your emotional heat. And now, you're left with nothing but questions. Questions that taste like regret on your tongue. The hunger for closeness is natural. It's not weakness. Wanting to be kissed slowly, held tightly, heard deeply. That isn't desperation, it's desire. But when you offer connection to a man who only comes to collect, not contribute, your desire becomes a debt. You'll keep giving, thinking you're investing, but he'll treat it like a free sample. And when he's done tasting, he'll walk away without buying anything real. That's what happens when you confuse chemistry with consistency. He makes your body ache, but never soothes your soul. He excites your nerves, but never nurtures your needs. And that contrast, it leaves you starving for something deeper. So you light candles, wear the lace, arch your back just right, hoping that maybe this time, he'll notice something other than your thighs. But men don't fall in love with bodies. They obsess over energy. They remember the way you made them feel, not just how you made them come. And if all you've given is friction, not fired, there's nothing to remember, nothing to miss. And that's the heartbreak that lingers long after the sheets are cold, because you didn't want a fling. You wanted to be felt. You wanted to be the one he stays for, not the one he slips out on before dawn. Still, you try again with him or someone new. A different name, same cycle. You believe maybe if you're more playful, more adventurous, more giving, he'll finally see you as the one. But here's the truth your body already knows. A man who doesn't desire your mind will never value your soul, no matter how many times you let him worship your body. He'll take your moans and leave your emotions untouched. He'll memorize your scent and forget your silence. And the part that hurts most, you gave it to him willingly. Not because you didn't know better, but because you were hoping this time would be different. Every time you say yes, when your heart says no, a piece of you disappears into his pleasure. You think the right kiss can make him stay. You think the way you ride him will make him fall. You think if you keep giving, he'll finally realize what he has. But darling, men don't value what they didn't earn. And if the only effort he gives is in bed, don't mistake that for love. Lust is loud. Real desire is silent and slow and consistent. Real men fall in love through admiration, not access. Through respect, not reaction. If you want to be the one he remembers, stop giving away your soul wrapped in satin. And here's the cruel twist. The more you give, the less he sees you, because he's not ready, not present, not built for your depth. He's feeding off the surface while you're dying for depth, and yet you keep laying your body down like an altar, praying he'll finally offer something holy in return. But a man who only touches you when it's easy will never stay for the parts that are hard. He wants softness without substance, heat without heart, pleasure without responsibility. And you want forever, but you're playing like it's temporary. So stop. Stop handing over the most sacred parts of you to someone who hasn't even earned the right to sit with your truth. Let him crave you. Let him earn you. Let him wait. Because the woman who knows her worth, she doesn't beg for attention. She makes him burn for access. It's important to understand that walking away isn't an act of failure. It's an act of self-respect. Helps us. In staying in a relationship that doesn't meet your needs, you send a message to yourself that you're not worthy of more. You become accustomed to less, and in doing so, you limit your potential for happiness, as it helps us. When you let go of something that no longer serves you, you create space for something better to enter your life. This doesn't mean that you're giving up on love, as it helps us. It simply means that you're no longer willing to settle for a version of love that leaves you feeling depleted and unfulfilled. True love isn't about clinging to something that no longer fits, as helps us. It's about knowing when to go and trusting that the right person will come along when you're ready for it. As it helps, the fear of the unknown often keeps people trapped in unhappy relationships. What if there's no one else? What if you can't find someone who understands you like they do? These fears are valid, but they are also a reflection of a scarcity mindset. There is always more to life, more to love, more to explore. The world is full of possibilities, and one relationship, no matter how much it meant at one point, does not define your worth. It may feel overwhelming to think about starting over, but the truth is that every ending creates an opportunity for a new beginning. When you allow yourself to move on, you free yourself from the limitations of the past and open yourself up to a future that holds far more potential than you can imagine. There is an undeniable power in knowing when to walk away. It's not about giving up. It's about recognizing that your needs matter and that you are worthy of a relationship that aligns with your values, dreams, and desires. Sometimes in the act of walking away, you find a deeper connection with yourself. You rediscover who you are outside of the confines of the relationship. And you start to understand what truly brings you joy, fulfillment, and peace. The journey of self-discovery that follows an ending can be liberating. It allows you to reclaim your power, set healthier boundaries, and build a future that's based on lessons you've learned from the past. And yet, there will always be moments when doubt creeps in. It's normal to second-guess yourself, to wonder if you made the right decision. You'll miss the good times, the moments of laughter, the feelings of intimacy that once brought you together. But the reality is that those moments no longer outweigh the negative aspects of the relationship. It's a delicate balance of understanding that the good doesn't erase the bad. In fact, it's often the negative experiences that teach us the most about what we need and what we deserve. Walking away is not about erasing the love you once shared. It's about choosing to honor yourself and your future by not allowing the relationship to continue to hold you back from the life you deserve. In the end, walking away is a powerful act of self-love. It shows that you value your well-being, that you recognize your worth, and that you're not afraid to let go of something that no longer serves you. It might feel uncomfortable at first, even painful, but in the long run, it is the best decision you can make for yourself. It opens up new doors, new opportunities, and the possibility of a relationship that not only meets your needs, but exceeds them. Remember, walking away is not the end of your journey. It's the beginning of a new chapter in which you reclaim your happiness, your peace, and your future. You can feel the tension in the air, can't you? That constant pull between what you want and what you think you should do. You've been here before, standing on the edge of vulnerability, unsure whether to take that next step. Every fiber of your being tells you that you deserve more attention, more affection, more connection. But there's that nagging voice in the back of your mind that tells you to be patient, to wait for him to make the move, to hold back just a little longer. You wonder when is enough truly enough? How long should you wait before you take the reins of your own happiness and refuse to accept less than what you deserve? The hardest part isn't knowing what you want. It's allowing yourself to believe that you deserve it. There's an invisible line that many of us draw, a boundary that we're too afraid to cross. We tell ourselves that if we just wait long enough, things will change on their own. We tell ourselves that if we are patient, things will fall into place. But what happens when patience begins to feel like a trap? What happens when your desires are continually left unfulfilled and you are left feeling ignored and distant, wondering if the connection you crave will ever come to fruition? That's when you realize that waiting isn't the answer. It's taking action. It's being brave enough to claim what you deserve and ask for it openly. Have you ever felt as though you're the one always giving, always compromising, always sacrificing parts of yourself just to keep the peace? It's exhausting, isn't it? You pour your heart into the relationship, trying to make everything perfect, trying to create that sense of harmony. But somewhere along the way, you lose yourself in the process. You begin to wonder if your needs even matter anymore. You stop asking for what you want because you fear it will make you seem needy or demanding. But here's the truth. Wanting more is not a flaw. Wanting more is what keeps you connected to the person you are, and it's what ensures that your relationship remains balanced and fulfilling. The more you hold back, the more you lose touch with what you truly need. It's a slow erosion that chips away at your happiness, piece by piece. You begin to settle for the crumbs, telling yourself that you should be grateful for what you have, that there are others who have it worse. But deep down, you know you're worth more than that. You're worth the full feast, not just the scraps left behind. And the only way to ensure that you're not left hungry for more is to stop waiting for someone else to meet your needs and start giving yourself permission to ask for it. It's not about being demanding, it's about being honest and true to yourself. What happens when you stop waiting and start asking for what you want? You create a space where both of you can step into the fullness of your relationship. You open the door for deeper connection, for honest conversations, for an exchange of desires that brings you closer together. It's a vulnerable act, asking for what you need. But it's also one of the most powerful things you can do for your relationship. When you let your partner know exactly what you're yearning for, you give them the chance to step up and meet you in the same space, to show up for you in ways that go beyond the surface. The connection deepens and the emotional intimacy strengthens. You know that moment? The one where you bite your tongue just before your truth escapes. You don't want to sound needy, so you nod, smile, arch your back, let him have his way, and pretend it's all fine. But deep inside, you're folding yourself smaller and smaller just to fit into the version of you he seems more comfortable with. You laugh a little lighter, speak a little softer, touch more often, and talk less deeply, hoping that being less will somehow make him want more. And every time you say nothing when you need everything, something inside of you dims. He doesn't see it, but your silence is heavy. You're not being mysterious. You're disappearing. It starts subtly. Maybe you stop asking for what turns you on because the last time you did, he brushed it off with a lazy kiss and a distracted sigh. Maybe you don't mention the way his tone stings when he's tired. Maybe you let him ignore your messages and call it space. Maybe you cancel plans you were excited for because he suddenly wants to come over late. And you let him because you think flexible makes you irresistible. But what it really does, it makes you forgettable because you're not shining. You're shrinking. And a woman who silences her fire just to stay warm in someone else's shadow will always end up cold. You weren't born to be polite in bed. You weren't meant to be quiet when your soul is itching to be met, not just touched. When you suppress your needs to protect his pride, you are slowly stripping away your essence. Helps us. Yourself, you're being understanding that relationships require compromise, but this isn't compromise. This is erasure. You're not expressing your truth. You're editing it for someone who wouldn't know what to do with your full version anyway. And yet, you crave closeness. So you give pleasure. You perform affection. You play a role and then wonder why you feel so alone after the orgasm fades. He says he likes when you're chill, low maintenance, drama-free. So you convince yourself that speaking up is too much, too risky. You withhold the parts of you that are wild, sensitive, craving more than a goodnight text and a few stolen hours under dim lights. You stop asking him to kiss you like he means it, to stay until morning, to care when you're quiet. You lower the volume on your desires, afraid they'll drive him away. But darling, as it helps us, if your truth sends him running, he was never strong enough to stay in the first place. And deep down, you know it. You know that a man who can't hold space for your voice will never hold space for your body in a way that truly satisfies. Still, you dress up, smile on cue, fake interest in things you don't care about just to feel close to him. You twist your schedule, skip your rituals, forget your dreams, and call it love. But it's not love, it's a performance. And performances don't create intimacy, they create exhaustion. You want connection, not convenience. You want to be felt, not just touched. But you're playing by rules that reward silence and punish honest honesty. And he's benefiting. He gets your softness without earning your depth. He gets your time without offering consistency. He gets your intimacy without stepping into real intimacy. The kind that begins with truth and ends with surrender. There's a part of you that aches to be heard while being held. A part of you that wants to say, this isn't enough, without fearing it'll scare him away. But you don't. You let your body say yes while your heart says maybe. You let his pleasure matter more than your own. You swallow your dissatisfaction and serve up another smile, another kiss, another night of pretending your silence is sexy. But you're not turned on, you're tired, not because you don't love him, but because you keep choosing him at the cost of yourself. And that price, it's starting to feel unbearable. There's power in a woman who doesn't apologize for needing more. A woman who says, this doesn't feel good and doesn't backpedal. A woman who lets her desires rise without shame, who asks for a slower pace, deeper kisses, longer conversations and presence, not just attention, because she knows that true intimacy isn't built on performance. It's built on presence. And a man who's truly present won't be threatened by your fire. He'll be turned on by it, but he can't meet you there if you keep hiding, if you keep choosing smallness, if you keep believing that being easy to handle is the same as being loved. You don't need to tone yourself down to be desired. You don't need to stay quiet to be kept. The right connection won't require you to sacrifice your truth in exchange for temporary warmth. You are not here to decorate someone's life. You are here to be felt, in bed, in conversation, in every unfiltered part of your existence. So stop dimming. Stop waiting for permission. Stop calling it love when it's really just survival. Speak, ask, reveal. Because the woman who shows up fully, vulnerably, unapologetically, she isn't too much. She's unforgettable. You've felt it, haven't you? The tension building up between you, the quiet expectations that sit heavy in the air, the weight of your own desires that go unspoken. You tell yourself that patience is a virtue, that love is built on time, understanding and taking things slow. But deep down, there's a quiet ache, an emptiness that you try to fill with distractions. You've learned the art of waiting, of pretending you don't need more, even though everything inside of you is craving it. And as the days pass, that hunger only grows. Yet, you hold on, not wanting to seem too eager, too demanding. But here's the secret they don't tell you sometimes. Waiting isn't a virtue. It's a trap. You've been so good at this, haven't you? You've been the perfect partner, attentive, patient, kind, and giving. You've sacrificed pieces of yourself in the name of being understanding, thinking that in time, everything will fall into place. But what happens when you stop asking for what you need? What happens when you silence your own voice just to keep things peaceful? What happens is that your desires, your needs, the very things that make you feel alive, begin to fade into the background. You stop acknowledging them. And in doing so, you stop acknowledging yourself. The truth is, you cannot expect him to read your mind, to feel what you feel without you saying a word. It's not fair to place that expectation on anyone, no matter how much you love them. Love doesn't work in silence, especially not when it's built on the idea of waiting, of hoping, of enduring. Relationships are not about living in a suspended state of yearning. They're about communication, vulnerability, and the courage to ask for what you truly want. And yet, you continue to wait. You wait for him to notice, to make the first move, to be the one who steps in and meets you halfway. But what if you were the one who took that step? What if you were the one who said, "This is what I need from you," without fear of pushing him away? You see, the act of asking isn't a sign of weakness. It's a demonstration of your strength, your trust, and your understanding of what you deserve. When you don't ask, when you hold back, when you silently hope he'll somehow figure it out, you're only denying yourself the very connection you long for. And the longer you withhold your needs, the deeper the distance grows. It's not just physical, it's emotional. It's the space between you that continues to widen until the intimacy you once had is no more than a distant memory. You know exactly what I'm talking about, don't you? The little moments when he's not looking at you the way you wish he would, when the affection feels forced, when the touch no longer carries that spark. You tell yourself it's just a phase. You tell yourself it will get better. We're just going through a rough patch. But you know better than that. This isn't just a rough patch. It's the result of unspoken desires, unmet needs, and that silent surrender to mediocrity. And if you don't do something about it, if you don't speak up, if you don't claim your worth, then you're going to lose something far more important than the fleeting satisfaction of waiting patiently. You're going to lose yourself. It's time to stop settling. Time to stop putting yourself last, thinking that in doing so, you'll somehow make him see how much you love him. You deserve more than that. You deserve someone who sees you, who hears you, who recognizes your worth not because you've been endlessly patient, but because you've been unwavering in your truth. You deserve someone who will match your energy, who will meet you halfway, who will not make you wait in silence, hoping that one day he'll finally get it. This isn't a game of waiting. This is your life, your happiness, your needs. And when you take that step, when you speak those words, when you claim what's rightfully yours, something shifts. It's not about demanding attention or affection in a way that feels desperate. It's about being honest with yourself and with him. It's about saying, I am worth your time, your energy, and your presence. When you stop waiting, when you stop hiding behind passive patience, you begin to reclaim the power in your relationship. You no longer have to settle for less than you deserve. And when you step into your truth, he can no longer ignore it. Now, imagine a world where you're not waiting, but living fully, freely, and passionately. Helps us. A world where your desires are met with excitement, where your needs are honored without hesitation, where you and your partner are aligned in every way. Doesn't that sound like the connection you've been craving? The beauty of it is, it's all within reach. But you have to take the first step. You have to stop waiting for the moment to be perfect, for the timing to be right. The truth is, the perfect moment is now. And the only thing standing in your way is your willingness to ask for what you deserve. You can feel the tension in the air, can't you? That constant pull between what you want and what you think you should do. You've been here before, standing on the edge of vulnerability, unsure whether to take that next step. Every fiber of your being tells you that you deserve more attention, more affection, more connection. But there's that nagging voice in the back of your mind that tells you to be patient, to wait for him to make the move, to hold back just a little longer. You wonder when is enough truly enough? How long should you wait before you take the reins of your own happiness and refuse to accept less than what you deserve? The hardest part isn't knowing what you want. It's allowing yourself to believe that you deserve it. There's an invisible line that many of us draw, a boundary that we're too afraid to cross. We tell ourselves that if we just wait long enough, things will change on their own. We tell ourselves that if we are patient, things will fall into place. But what happens when patience begins to feel like a trap? What happens when your desires are continually left unfulfilled and you are left feeling ignored and distant, wondering if the connection you crave will ever come to fruition? That's when you realize that waiting isn't the answer. It's taking action. It's being brave enough to claim what you deserve and ask for it openly. Have you ever felt as though you're the one always giving, always compromising, always sacrificing parts of yourself just to keep the peace? It's exhausting, isn't it? You pour your heart into the relationship, trying to make everything perfect, trying to create that sense of harmony. But somewhere along the way, you lose yourself in the process. You begin to wonder if your needs even matter anymore. You stop asking for what you want because you fear it will make you seem needy or demanding. But here's the truth. Wanting more is not a flaw. Wanting more is what keeps you connected to the person you are, and it's what ensures that your relationship remains balanced and fulfilling. The more you hold back, the more you lose touch with what you truly need. It's a slow erosion that chips away at your happiness, piece by piece. You begin to settle for the crumbs, telling yourself that you should be grateful for what you have, that there are others who have it worse. But deep down, you know you're worth more than that. You're worth the full feast, not just the scraps left behind. And the only way to ensure that you're not left hungry for more is to stop waiting for someone else to meet your needs and start giving yourself permission to ask for it. It's not about being demanding, it's about being honest and true to yourself. What happens when you stop waiting and start asking for what you want? You create a space where both of you can step into the fullness of your relationship. You open the door for deeper connection, for honest conversations, for an exchange of desires that brings you closer together. It's a vulnerable act, asking for what you need. But it's also one of the most powerful things you can do for your relationship. When you let your partner know exactly what you're yearning for, you give them the chance to step up and meet you in the same space, to show up for you in ways that go beyond the surface. The connection deepens and the emotional intimacy strengthens.